Cooking for Beginners by Mary June Smith, 2018. All rights reserved by Mary June Smith. Narrated by Rhonda Wright and Jason Hill. Chapter 1.
Bread. The preparation of wheat and other grains in the form of bread is one of the most important of all culinary operations, and to many persons one of the most difficult. It is impossible to set exact rules as to the quantity of flour or liquid to be used, for the quality of the flour varies as much as that of the grain from which it is made, and some varieties, excessive in gluten, will absorb nearly 1/3 more liquid than others, and produce correspondingly more bread. For this reason, in buying flour, we must choose that which contains the most gluten. This kind will remain in a firm, compact mass when pressed in the hand, and will retain all the lines and marks of the skin, or if mixed with water, it will take up a great deal in proportion to its bulk, and will form a tough, elastic dough. Gluten in flour corresponds with the nitrates or flesh formers in flesh, and abounds in hard winter wheat. The flour containing much of it is never extremely white. The object of making bread, that is of mixing water with the flour and subsequently exposing the dough to intense heat, is to expand and rupture the cells of the grain, so as to expose the greatest possible surface to the action of the digestive fluids. This is accomplished in several ways: by the formation of air cells through the medium of acetous fermentation, as in yeast bread; by the mechanical introduction of carbonic acid gas, as in aerated bread; by the mixture with the flour of a gas-generating compound, which needs only the contact of moisture to put it in active operation; and by the beating into the dough of atmospheric air. No organic change in the elements of the flour is necessary, like that produced by the partial decomposition of some of its properties, in bread raised with yeast, so long as proper surface is obtained for the action of the gastric juices, the purpose of raising is accomplished. Bread raised without fermentation can be made from the following receipt, and there is no question of its healthfulness. 254. Aerated homemade bread. Mix flour and water together to the consistency of a thick batter, then beat it until fine bubbles of air thoroughly permeate it. For small biscuit, pour it into patty pans and bake in a good brisk oven. For bread in loaves, more flour is thoroughly kneaded in with the hands, until the dough is full of air bubbles, and then baked at once, without being allowed to stand. When bread is to be raised by the acetous fermentation of yeast, the sponge should be maintained at a temperature of 89° Fahrenheit until it is sufficiently light, and the baking should be accomplished at a heat of over 320°. When yeast is too bitter from the excess of hops, mix plenty of water with it, and let it stand for some hours. Then throw the water off and use the settlings. When yeast has soured, it may be restored by adding to it a little carbonate of soda or ammonia. When dough has soured, the acidity can be corrected by the use of a little carbonate of soda or ammonia. If the sponge of raised bread be allowed to overwork itself, it will sour from excessive fermentation, and if the temperature be permitted to fall and the dough to cool, it will be heavy. Thorough kneading renders yeast bread white and fine, but is unnecessary in bread made with baking powder. Great care should be taken in the preparation of yeast for leavened bread, as the chemical decomposition inseparable from its use is largely increased by any impurity or undue fermentation. Experience and judgment are necessary to the uniform production of good bread, and those are gained only by repeated trials. We subjoin one of the best receipts which we have been able to procure for making yeast. 255. Home brewed yeast. Boil 2 ounces of the best hops in 4 quarts of water for half an hour. Strain off the liquor and let it cool till lukewarm, and then add half a pound of brown sugar and 2 heaping tablespoonfuls of salt. Use a little of this liquor to beat up 1 pound of the best flour, and gradually mix in all of it with the flour. Let it stand 4 days to ferment in a warm place near the fire, stirring it frequently. On the 3rd day boil and mash 3 pounds of potatoes and stir them into it. On the 4th day strain and bottle it. It will keep good for months. 256. Homemade bread. Put 7 pounds of flour into a deep pan and make a hollow
Sample complete. Ready to continue?